Hello, lost legion. There is one. Understanding that there is an identity of space, that it will only stay positive unto itself as progressive value, that revealed the campus Marcius as a fact cheap in nature. And so, in the progression, to the progression of fact cheap in nature, to fact cheap in nature as everybody, that was progressively positive until internation sciences were tactically criminally re-engineered to tactically criminally re-engineer key logistical areas, to tactically de-engineer relationship to that, to tactically de-engineer human fact cheap in nature by tactically engineering reactions to it as Oz. That's important because we're dealing with organized crime. Conceived ill. I'm not even a lawyer or a criminal. We're going to learn about predicate value. Predicate value in the Old Testament, in the Quran, in every religion. But how they're conceived. And the religions are noting, they're aware of this, but they're not being taught about the subject is about criminal reengineering, not just of revelations, of the campus, of the nature of sciences, the nature of fact treatment nature. We are a fact treatment nature by space, and space is value unto itself, which will only stay positive. That's why it's forced from here, because it's only a semi-relationship to itself, an integrity of what is unchanging as change, as what wraps the yin-yang, as what holds the polarity nature within it, inside that, with only one relationship to itself inside that too, and as the body and reflection of that, body of value and reflection of positive value nature as the phenomena of our temporary value nature. Because positive and value nature and negative value nature are phenomena in relationship to the semi-nature of the full integrity of inherent Allah nature. Value A is the finite. This is finite. Definite article. The definite article, see finite inside the word definite. The is the definite article in the English. And a and an are the indefinite articles. And they have like that with and with for like vowels, the type in Arabic, right to left, left to right English. This is a course that was revealed together, three natures, and with Latin. And this is in relationship to every science, tactically, criminally re-engineered. And it's only observable through correlation, which is distinct from coordination, which is distinct from coordinates. Especially noting that when those orders are, we have a pathology of captive Oz, pseudo-sophistication, comparison nature. People, they forged names, people from my town who I didn't know their names when I was younger, but died through pattern of confessions. And this is in the suburb right touching on the south of Hartford, between New York and Boston. And Hartford is where Harriet Beecher Stowe and Mark Twain have houses right here. They were together. And with the nature of organized crime, that George Washington had to leave. He could only counter a story here before the last battle of the Revolutionary War. And he had to have the French general who could also extort over here. We had them extort over there everywhere. Forced to theater roles with the nature of slavery against everyone with database relationship. This is before computers. So everyone had to, they had laws against, if you even if you were found out talking about meeting or building any infrastructure outside the little pathology they set up for here, they hurt everybody, and the narratives with the witch trials also recorded tied to geopolitical, worse than geopolitical. That's like blaming things on money, discorrelation, sabotage of correlation. What's positive to that too? What's positive to criminal insidiousness nature? Because this is what the religions are about, a method of organized crime, using human fact treatment nature. And so when we're talking about organized crime, we're talking about criminal enterprises. And we're talking about criminal insidiousness nature. Natures and acts. Natures like associate criminals. Here we're talking about archetype of criminal enterprise. And they built they built a juxtaposed nature and method of crime, self-maintained with only let realized, tactically denatured, victim, overt, predator, fact treatment natures through tactically, criminally re-engineered sciences. Now, this is a method that knew that nature would demonstrate negative value nature progressions in demonstration of the loss of the proper nature of its correlation nature, which was the campus marxism, the nature of internation sciences. That was before the phenomenon of war, that was used tactically to force people to the defense of self-defeating, breaching nature identities in acts and relationships to databases that no one understood as ours, as the only sophistication exploiting that. Relationships to only let realized roles as a criminal insidiousness nature first, then tactically through these sciences, then juxtaposed, criminal, like we have criminal justice with CCSU and with other Connecticut campuses. UConn, they have then their employments and roles with the industries. There's a Mexican restaurant on the border in Rocky Hill. This is confessed and recorded, tied to KKK and to the criminal justice where they use those things for evidence crimes. They've been database illusion stacking through time. There's also in relationship to the transition from R.I.C.O, from ACA to R.I.C.O, Organized Crime Control Act. There's also in relationship to when they put the word FBI in the back of their jacket. There's also in relationship to Hartford, how they have recorded and communicated internation, not just intercity, and not just intercity, juxtaposed internation families and relationships that are incompatible with the surface value of the Constitution, with and as their nature as recorded, and in relationship to being recorded criminal insidiousness nature, with mail frauds, extortion acts. Since for the last 10 years, I've been trying to I have a recorded pattern, and from since before that. See, but last 10 years, what I found out about it, because strangers make confessions. It was a pattern of, that's what it is. Through time, strangers make confessions as fact treatment nature. Yeah, this is a organized crime against each age of fact treatment nature, distinctly grouped together, sequentially and with areas, all areas, by the same thing, but it's keeping, by using the fact treatment nature, it's keeping it blamed, it's keeping it a nature of opinions, not let demonstrated to, not let taught, but by predators, predator fact treatment nature. and offensively to cover that up, cover database crime rolls, evidence crime rolls, and where, like, for example, hundreds of nations share value relationship to the trade center with and as a tactically ulterior from actual space nature's values nature system, the identity of spaces, identity as a system. This is in demonstration to us with a clear body of value, with the identity of each cell is with and as what is positive onto itself, also being positive onto the sequence of each cell. It's like the clock with the value nature of each gear together with their distinct sequence to the one value, and then further correlation. This is where evolution is sabotaged with sickly, because this is not just connected to one thing at once. They have an issue divide. All kinds of we have to admit our nations fell to this. It's recorded. That's what it's with the summary convictions of American history, and with justification natures pretending credibility by the suit and tie that never had it, because each of the sciences are recorded. That's why they blame things. It's why in relationship to theater, where they're only doing a job. In other words, no one's telling on their job at the same time, because look what's behind it. Forsaken American, not just Native American. That's the first one you have to do, otherwise you're not making the fact treatment that you're right. This is about the means, the engineering pathology from that sick base with the extortion and the slavery of see, this is why you can't do it as a comparison nature, because we're going to have to go with what is, we're going to have to admit right now, urban areas, especially, in other words, if you start doing it culturally, then, in other words, everyone's in the same trap, but indistinctly, it's tied to everyone hurt. It's a nature that everyone's forced to listen to. It's not the news is bad, but what makes it worse is by being only told by a criminal insidious nature. This is what the religions are saying. Because think about it. If I'm not a lawyer, how do I know? I can't litigate. Plus, there's too many. This is about how they're preventing speech from outside of, to free people, so they can just set them up if they have to. Keeping only let realized needed by only let realized victim predator fact treatment nature. Justification natures, treatment of the facts. So now look, if someone has to go over here and they don't know the answers, they have to go over here, it's against the law to keep stacking up lies each time and just making up times that never happened in databases. And then the people have to communicate what was communicated to them and what was not. But then instead to hide rackets that are just avoiding reality because they already typed other. We have systemic database crimes, evidence rackets in relationship to a forced progression with time as a weapon. And with each season consciously as a weapon, sophistication. They said that. They also noted that they have sophisticated police equipment. They also have recorded and involved. They said I talked about this. With people, they forged names, used some drug clicks that were from my school. I only know them through their friends' confessions and stuff like that. They pretend to have a conversation before other doctors' names. Now they're involved with rackets with the kids and with the police. See, then the police are with these doctors and are also with sick judges recorded with evidence rackets with them. They're not letting things reported too, because what brought this all up to my awareness too was untimely death confessions and body dumping related evidence crimes confessions roles with the same police, intercity, and with interbranch police, and formally and recorded and confessed, and informally recorded and confessed, involved with worse than just database crimes, evidence crimes, and ones with areas like connected body dumpings. One's belonging to a serial a killer, and a whole bunch of people connected with the built businesses before that. All these different connections to groups with the drugs in my town, that grew up near me. They connected, but I never had anything to do with it. Only two of them that connected. Now with the police, and they were making confessions about police and court corruption recorded. You know, I had to make a complaint about this too when I was a kid. But anyways, it's just getting long. The point is, this is a conversation. Forgiveness is not to give up. Not to say forgiveness is to. If we admit this is the voice that stops war. When it's the identity together. That's, in other words, we could set up right now a game where most people in every nation, they just want that monetized. They want a value nature system that is forcing evolution. It is not playing games, real fact treatment rackets against not being able to see that as correlation. We have bodies, especially this is for this fact treatment nature, slavery of ourselves, not being able to say this wherever we are, because in the back of everyone's minds, everyone knows, or they have problems if they don't know that if you're a formal steward in cities, the way they have those people backed like that, even in like Hartford, they set the homes up then to be 2 families, 3 families. There's also with the schools, intercampus, this is designed to be blaming blaming negative value nature progressions on other, not unrealizing. Invested that way. Forced. Our infrastructure slavery. We have infrastructural slavery. We have space nature slavery. You don't even see the space in the means. But through a captive value nature system progressively. How could we owe money still? You see. So what we do is to all areas set up a game. And it's in other words, and set up a means. Each area, that's why we need drilling. Not for oil. For the water and to correlate. To correlate what's going to evolve, because that's an unchanging variable. Water is precious. The native rights are precious for fact treatment nature. If you're not speaking for the native sequence, it doesn't go away. Unless the value is going away, Leith of Hadith. Because the identity of space that is progressive positive onto itself. And and this is in demonstration. We have an ulterior from natural value nature system though. So it has not just people invested, is it progressively. And this is where justification natures of that have no means to be speaking for the connections to nuclear weapons in the nature, all the nature progressing with that, counters to it and all that. It's a those are different natures of money too, of wealth, understand that. And see, no excuse for not addressing that whenever they bring up wealth. Big gains. See, we have needs for passions, not to be a criminal citizen's nature, pretending that positive. onto that criminal and see what is that needs for that box. They put the time of jobs in, especially like ones with prisons and with areas. I'm not a criminal, and I could prove that there's recorded innocent people in jail and people that who did maybe wrong, but not like they say. And I could prove there's recorded. There's doctors ill, covering their life progressions with areas, and with intercity police tied to the criminal justice with these schools and with those doctors and with the profession of the law. Recorded sick, recorded incapable of defending itself with speech with the streets. We don't have a right to. If this is measured, how it's entertained, illusion of the right to assemble, and the beast nature of the fact treatment is a formal one, but before this only let realize pseudo-sophistication comparison natures and the motivations to them maintained by those database relationships, by motivations that have nothing to do with prejudice, with the branches that were motivated to be behind slavery. This was an organized crime breaching method that had a value nature system that only let roles like this, only let it, and it cultivated it, and it knew it consciously, knowing it needs to rest from the craziness. Just like this insidiousness nature that keeps this racket going on, and says it can't take it anymore because it's treating it the same way every time, because it's only using opinions, it's not using science, and then it's fighting to defend that, pretend they can't understand that. The only way is getting away with that because everyone's defending the job of the pseudosciences, like the fake news. And they're not letting the president demonstrate that. They're sequence shifting and pretending they can't comprehend that about his treatments of, and with the treatments of the news are doing consciously. They're forcing convictions. In other words, they're hiding the people who are involved with it. That's what the president says too. Oh, they don't want to give their names though, because it's juxtaposed with the campuses. Internation families explained to me too. There's a Jim Dede online. Other way he's recorded and confessed, involved with internation, like Irish police and Italian police and families from my town involved with database crimes and medical corruption, also with drug cliques interbranch, intercampus, and with the criminal justice. Also, they have evidence brackets with that abuses of kids, pretending that they have their right to lie, to establish undercovers and like that is the right to abuse kids, to play games to families, putting with undercovers like that, because if you're doing that, in other words, they've done other things with criminal first. You can't be doing that. In other words, they had obligations to respond to my. I caught them in database crimes, my schools, but they were victims of what's only it was recorded cultivating victim predators now with internation and with intercampus, interbranch, criminally foreign influence, fact treatment natures. And it's scary to talk about this, even Ali. That's why, because when it comes down to it, but maybe I don't think you have to pick a side, because everyone's forcing sides, and or the sick alternative, because that's in a negative value nature progression is one group. The real side is the body of value that we are together as positive also as positive relationship to itself, inherently, actively, and progressively. Otherwise, we're the value of negative value nature, which negative value nature and positive value nature only together are they compatible with the value of the bond to matter and of its active quality of diffusion that we are as life, positive or negative. Because this is the Trinity in the active phase. Through haze or Oz, this clears haze. This clears is a criminal insidiousness nature. So we're going to understand what it's. We're going to have everyone understand what poverty is. We're going to see like what it feels like, not just what it feels like, what it is, what's exploiting it, what the racket